college. They actually returned home from college and they planted the seed that would become the YWCA. They had learned about YWCAs at college. They came back to Waterloo and said, we need to have one here. It's a good idea. So in 1911, the YWCA was actually chartered with a membership of 2,351. And when you think about that, that's quite a bit for back in 1911 and a fairly rural community at that point. In 1912, we were actually the third largest YWCA in the country, which again, sort of unique for us because most of the YWCAs that were beginning then were particularly on the East Coast, and they were in larger metropolitan areas. And so the fact that we were the third largest just a year after we were charted is kind of cool as well. 1924 is when this building was built, and the building was designed by Mortimer Cleveland and with a gentleman that, I wrote his name down someplace and now I don't know where I put it so I can remember it, but he was an architect from New York City that went around the country and actually designed YWCAs with local architects. So this is the same building that we're in today. For me, one of the fun parts is up on the left side of the screen on the building, you can see the fence up there. Back in 1930, and for many years, they used to flood that in the wintertime and ice skate up there. And we don't do that anymore. I don't think the roof can take it. Yeah. In fact, that's where all of our new HVAC systems sit up there on that roof. In 1934, this is sort of a unique year for us in this community as well. And that's because we expanded our services in a pretty thoughtful and planful way. And that was to start including women of color as was integrated in 1934. You didn't see a lot of that happening across the country in the 1930s. So these next slides, I'm just kind of gonna go through them quickly. Camp Wampatuan is a camp that we opened. It was the first interracial, it was one of the first interracial camps for female youth, not only in the state, but in the country. It's a camp that we no longer run, sadly. I believe they closed it in the 1980s. And then the rest of it is just things that happened between 1940 and 1960. Some more updates here. The first campaign for renovations, and then in the 80s is when they completed those renovations, most of them having to do with handicapped accessibility throughout the building. And then obviously in 2011, we celebrated being 100 years old. And I have to drink through this, so just take a moment, everybody. So last year, we served 2,470 people. That is low for us, and we thank COVID for that. We tend to be somewhere in that 3,000, 3,200 kind of range. And so we saw a huge decrease last year because of the pandemic. And it's noteworthy that the majority of the individuals that we serve come from the most vulnerable populations in our community. And in fact, while all our services are available to all men, women, girls and boys, we have purposely sought to serve those that come from those most vulnerable populations. So, we try to target individuals and families living in poverty, at-risk parents, immigrants and refugees that have little income and have little or no English skills, senior citizens on fixed incomes, and particularly now, families that are known now as the working poor. Those are the groups that we tend to target the most when we're thinking of programming. Oops, I'm moving my stuff, but I forgot to move your stuff. So we do provide childcare. We have a before and after school program in 13 elementary schools in Waterloo, Cedar Falls, and Hudson. We provide childcare. They're called play days when the schools are out of session. So like over spring break, over Christmas break. Summer days is a full day summer program. And we provide it here at the YWCA, and then the Waterloo schools gives us one elementary school, or sometimes more than that, if we really have a big waiting list, to use to be able to expand the number of children and families that we can serve. So that's been a lovely partnership for us and for the families. And then the Family Center is our only unlicensed childcare. The rest of them are licensed. The Family Center is free childcare that supports the parents that are coming in for parenting classes, income classes, what else? Our English class. So childcare, the registered, what does that mean? The childcare that is licensed is fee-based, and we provide financial assistance based on household income and size. And the financial assistance that we provide is funded through either grants or from fundraising by us. Health and wellness services, for those of you who have never been in our building, we do have a swimming pool, we have a gymnasium, and we have a fitness center that has cardio and weight equipment. So these are some of the things that we provide. We are Silver Sneakers, Renew Active, Silver and Fit. These are all insurance programs for senior citizens so they can use it. Seniors in Motion is a partnership with the Northeast Iowa Area Agency on Aging, where we provide twice weekly fitness classes, chair-based fitness classes mostly, in 15 of their senior centers across 10 counties. These are some, the page that I just left, those are all fee-based as well. And again, we provide the same financial assistance based on their household income and size. Most of what's on the screen now has been either provided free or a lot of times, particularly with first aid CPR, individuals will pay to get themselves certified, or other groups or organizations will pay to have us do that training. But the Know Your Numbers, the nutrition education, all those things, we provide for free. Youth and Family Services. These are what I call our social service programming. These are all grant funded, and these are all free to the individuals. So Wise Girls is for middle school girls in the school. During the school year, it's for Waterloo schools only. During the summer, it's for any middle school age girls in Black Hawk County. It is a character development program for these girls. It's designed to help them reach their greatest potential. They do a variety of things. They do a lot of career exploration. We take them to the college campuses around town. We take them to some work sites so that they can see both what is considered traditional and non-traditional jobs for women. We have a STEM, or now it's actually a STEAM, project with the Grout Museum that the girls are involved in. They do community service projects. They do a lot of prevention. So we have people come in and talk to them about risky behaviors, things like that. Young Women on the Move is a one-day event, and we open this up to schools across the Cedar Valley. And so they can bring girls that again are middle school age. The last one we had was before COVID, and we had 300 girls at that one. And we have a lovely partnership with Westminster Presbyterian Church. They let us use the church so that we can have all the breakout sessions. The breakout sessions are usually things that are pertinent to the girls. So there's always something on maybe bullying, cyberbullying. There's something health and wellness. There's goal setting. There's again alcohol and substance abuse prevention. And again, that's free. We provide that free. Multicultural services is case management for individuals that don't speak English as their first language. So people can come in and we will connect them to community resources to address whatever issues they may have. We'll also help them fill out forms. So unemployment forms, employment forms, housing forms, whatever they need assistance with, we'll help them. We make sure that when they come in and are asking for things that like immigration assistance and things, we might help with filling out a form, but we're making a referral to an attorney or something or someone who can help them, because that's kind of serious work and we want to make sure that they have the best help they can get. The language advocacy resources and support, that's a long program title for our English class. And we lengthened it from English class because we no longer just teach English in there. We're also doing a lot of resource connection. The group itself is designed to support each other and reduce their isolation when they come into the community. It started out years ago as just a program for Hispanic mothers when they first came to the community. Now it is men and women, and it is several different languages. 2 years ago, we actually had 9 different languages spoken there. Last year, we had 3. We had French, we had Burmese, and we had Spanish. It is not like an ESL class. It is ongoing, it's open-ended. It teaches what I would call the kind of English that they need to survive. So I call it survival English, so that they can go out in the community, they can talk to a teacher, they can talk to a doctor, they can get their needs met. Our hope for all of the folks that come through our English class is that at some point they will be comfortable enough to attend an ESL class and get a certificate. Many of the people that we serve are illiterate in their own language, and they have not had a lot of experience being in a structured classroom. And so we're sort of that starting place for them so that they get ready and hopefully will go on and get some sort of English certificate after that. Parents Achieving Success with Support is our parenting program for at-risk parents. The parents are between 20 and 35 years old. Many of them have children with developmental disabilities, and it is to provide them with information and support so that they can recognize milestones, developmental milestones, so that they have a good understanding of, how their child should be developing. They learn about nutrition and how important that is. There's also a piece in there that's school readiness. So we talk with them about the importance of reading to their children, doing simple tasks or simple worksheets. And there's also a self-sufficiency piece to this. So if they haven't finished school or they want to continue their education, we bring in people to talk to them about that, or in some cases, we'll take them out into the community as well. The big thing about these programs is that they are, I thought I had a thing on this. They are actually, nope, it's not there. We have supportive services where we provide transportation. So we go out and pick them up and we bring them into the Y and we take them home afterwards. And we also provide childcare, free childcare. If it wasn't for the transportation and the free childcare, many of them would not be able to participate. There we go. In 2013, I just like to have just a moment to brag. And that is that that year we were one of three finalists for the first national YWCA USA Association Excellence Award for our work in the field of women's empowerment. And that was due mostly to our work with the English class and our PASS, our Parents Achieving Success with Support. The last thing that we have is, I call it our hodgepodge. And I call it enrichment because I couldn't think of anything else that kind of grabbed it all. And so it is, it's our little salad luncheon, which is hosted by the Friends, but that is sort of become sort of just a gathering of individuals. So that connection to people in the community, but also it gives them a chance to connect with each other. Women of Persimmon is our annual luncheon that we have that celebrates women and recognizes their accomplishments. Week Without Violence and Stand Against Racism. Those are two national initiatives, and each YWCA is able to decide what they want to do. And so for Week Without Violence, for many years now, we've been providing either a half day or a day long workshop where we bring in a presenter. And sometimes we also have panel discussions about some type of violence that's going on in our communities, and hopefully getting to understand it a little bit more, and then hopefully creating some solutions. Stand Against Racism, again, is, well, it speaks for itself, but we get to pick our own activities. And the last one that we did was making and selling yard signs that said, no matter where you're from, we're glad you're our neighbor, in several different languages. And then we have a book club and that's open to anyone. I actually get all of my reading suggestions from that book club. They come up with some pretty interesting reads. And then the card club is a group of seniors that come in, and they've actually just started back up now. Ensuring access. So I've already talked a little bit about the financial assistance, and there's our 2020 numbers, which again are down because of COVID. Usually the amount that we provide in financial assistance is anywhere between 100,000 and 130,000. And it's usually in that 300 to 350 range for the number of people using it. And then I've also talked about the fact that we do the transportation and the childcare. And, we do that, one, because we know that our people couldn't get there, but also because we know from every community, survey that goes out there, transportation and childcare are always listed as the main reasons just that people struggle with, but also why people can't get to services or get their needs met. These are just a quick rundown of our program numbers. The numbers vary a little bit because they're contacts. So for childcare, a contact is a day of childcare. For health and wellness, it would be attendance at a class, a fitness class. All right, this is a breakdown, and this would be from last year. This is a breakdown of the people that we serve. So you can see that, over 80% of the individuals that we serve make under 35,000, and almost 70% make under 25,000. The ethnicity, it's interesting because it changes by several points every year, depending on who's coming to the English class. So 2 years ago, we had over 100 people come in and go through our English class in the course of a year. And we saw a huge shift between the African-American or Black, the Latino, Hispanic, and the Asian American. And so those numbers are always sort of fluctuating depending on the groups that we have attending the English class. And then of course it affects the percentages of some of the other ones. As far as people of color versus whiter European American, just because of the community that we live in, the white European American number probably always stays between that 45 to 55%, and then the rest of them will shift out after that.
Before you go on, Sydney,
yeah,
when you, if you could go back to the last slide.
Yep.
When you say participant income is 25,000 per year, excuse me, or less, is that for a family of 4, or how do you calculate the size of the family? Or
we don't, and it's just for a household, and so it could be one person, it could be 4, it could be whatever. We don't. We calculate that out when we decide on like what kind of financial assistance they would get.
260E and 260F.
But as far as on this one, we really didn't separate that out, Mickey.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I will tell you that in that 25,000 or less, would be quite a few of our seniors as well, because a lot of them are living on Social Security.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. So females and males.
And I think it's just because of the target one that threw us up and over. It is.
Okay, I muted her.
Okay. I didn't want to interrupt her in case it was important. We tend to be right around those ranges, and females and males goes up a little, down a little. The participant age, this time children and youth are way high, and that's because, again, of COVID. We didn't have a lot of our adults coming in for programs. So generally, that children and youth is more in that 55 to 65% range. And the seniors are a little bit higher, and it actually is the adults that stay right around that 18 to 20%. This is where we get our funds. And this would be, again, for the funds for last year. I'm sorry, it would be the funds for 2020, because right now we're finishing up our audit, so we'll have audited numbers after that for last year. So 58% comes from program service fees, so that would be our childcare fees and our health and wellness when they sign up and take classes. Contracts for us would be like DHS contracts to be reimbursed for childcare, as well as like our contract to do the Seniors in Motion with the Area Agency on Aging. United Way is 7%. 9% is from private grants and foundations. I believe that on this one, they were all local. So we are always thankful that the local grants and foundations support us. So the McElroy, the Guernsey, the Community Foundation, and some of the private families and some of the corporate foundations like Lincoln Savings Bank Foundation and the U.S. Bank Foundation are consistent good funders of ours. Membership dues. When you buy a membership at the YWCA for an adult, it's $35 a year. and your membership supports the mission of the YWCA. It also gives you access to member prices for childcare and health and wellness. But your membership itself, that $35, or for a senior, it's $25, that supports the mission of the YWCA. The special events would be our fundraisers. So it'd be like Women of Persimmon. It would be whatever fall fundraiser we had. Interest in investment income. We had some very smart women many years ago. They got together and did a campaign and put together some endowment funds. And since then, they have been added to by women that have either left us in their wills or their trusts, or they have just put money in there. And so we have 3 investment funds that we're able to use part of what they make every year based on investment policies that we operate under. And then 5% comes from contributions. So it's people like you and me donating to the YWCA. In this particular year, we did get a $10,000 grant. It was an emergency income disaster loan, which we applied for that, and then it was forgiven right away.
You can wind it up if you want to. Yeah.
Our expenses, program services are always the highest. Admin is 5%. Fundraising this last year was a little bit higher. It's usually around 5% as well. It's higher because this was the year that we did our feasibility study and started working with our capital campaign consultants. This is our annual budget is usually around 1.6 million. We have 16 full-time staff, and we have anywhere from, actually right now, I would say anywhere from 60 to 100 part-time staff. We have the governance of the agency is with the board of directors, and then we have standing committees that are listed there. This is, I'm not going to go through all these, but this is how we decide what kind of programming we want to do, what kind of programming we want to continue, and in some cases, what kind of programming we might want to end. Because sometimes programs run their course. So these are all the things that we look at and we discuss internally when we try to make our decisions. And then after we think these all out, then we make the decisions. And we have definitely started new programs, and we have in the 16 years that I've been here, we have closed 2 programs. And so for a variety of reasons that are all listed on this page. The very last one, the past, current, and projected program department agency revenues and expenses, that's something that we always look at along with the community resources and duplication of services. We try to balance those 2 out in particular, because if there's not support there for it financially, it's hard to keep a program going. And I am particularly these days watching things that are going to affect the whole agency, but they affect the specifically programs and departments. And it's things like, minimum wage. Where's that going? How are we going to get, what we pay our individuals up to what they may come up with for minimum wage? And that's a balancing act, one for me, but also for the board. But for me, I'm a social worker by training. So do I think everybody should have a living wage? You bet I do. As the executive director, can I make that happen immediately? I cannot. I mean, there's all these other factors that have to be figured in on how to do these things. And the same is true with duplication of services. I totally believe that clients need to have some choice. But I also know that if we are not going to be as good as another organization at providing something, we're not going to do it. We can partner with them instead. We can collaborate. We can share our participants and things like that. We don't have to necessarily be the provider if someone out there can do it better and has been doing it better. I would much rather collaborate with them than try to take a program and build it up from the bottom when there's going to be that kind of either duplication or competition for either funds or participants. These are all the partners and collaborators that we have, and I'm really sure that I forgot some. And some of them are in orange, and it's not because they're more important. It's because if I didn't make them orange, I would forget to talk about them. So I already talked a little bit about the Northeast Iowa Area Agency on Aging and the fact that, you know, we work with them in providing fitness classes that at their senior center sites. So it helps people stay in their homes. It helps them be more flexible. It helps them be more mobile. It helps their balance. And they're already there for the socialization piece. So that's just another add-on that just keeps seniors out in the community in their homes. Mercy One, you know, over the years, we've had a lot of health education from them, but they also do something else for us that just came about without us really thinking or planning it. And that is that when the Waterloo schools decided that they were no longer going to or that one day a week they weren't going to provide preschool, then children that we provided before and after school childcare for needed to go somewhere. So we had to start operating a full day, one day a week of childcare for pre-K. And the first thing we thought about is how are we going to feed these kids? We don't have a kitchen that is set up for us to cook and things like that. And so I brought it up at the board meeting, and I happened to have a board member who worked at well, then it was Covenant, but Mercy One. And it was actually set up, and Mercy One feeds those kids every Friday. So we just go and pick up the food and bring it and take all the pans back. So that has been a wonderful collaboration for us. And actually it's they came and filmed all the kids eating and talking about the food and why they liked carrots. It was really highly interesting to hear a little person talk why they really did like carrots. But they got to use it in their digital annual report. So it was, you know, it was something that showed that their investment in the community as well. The Waterloo, Cedar Falls, and Hudson schools, you know, they give us space to do our before and after school programs, and they do that for free. And that's just a wonderful collaboration because I can't think of anything better for families in the community than to be able to have childcare right in the school where their children are. Exceptional Persons, we are actually a site, although they haven't been here for a while because of COVID. We're a site where they bring one of their employment groups here once a week, and they clean all of our fitness equipment and have, they also sit and have their lunch here as well. So it's been good because they have some employment, and it's been good for us because we have adults with disabilities in the building and interacting with the people that are coming in for our health and wellness programs. The Grout Museum District, I talked a little bit about the fact that they have a grant that was specifically designed to provide STEAM, which is STEM with art added in there. And they provide that weekly to our Wise Girls groups. The last one is the UNI Department of Language and Literature. For several years now, they have been providing conversation partners for our English class, where the students have come over and sat in the class and helped each participant with whatever the lesson is. They've helped them by talking with them so that they get to practice their English. They have also done some lesson planning and actually provided the lesson. And in 2001, and I always have to read this because it's such a long thing. So last year, the YWCA and UNI were the 2021 Community Collaboration Engaged Campus Award from the Iowa and Minnesota Campus Compact. So, so not only are our participants getting great value from the students will tell you that they are learning so much from these participants because they're hearing their stories. Some of our participants are coming from countries where, you know, there's a lot of violence, there was a lot of war. And so these are things that maybe the students would never hear about or actually talk to someone that has experienced it. And to top it off, we're also getting some recognition for it as well. So I'm going to finish up with a little bit on what we call the preserving the past and ensuring the future. So back in 2011, which seems like a really long time now, and it really isn't that long, is when we first started, and we did that with a feasibility study. It felt like two feasibility studies. We did one for a rather large program or a large project. And then after that, we had to rethink what some of our goals and what the project would look like. So what we came up with was that a project that would satisfy our programming needs. We had to stay within the footprint of our existing building, and we would have to have costs that would stay around 6.1 million. And then one thing I didn't add here, but it's true, is that our project would also need to add to the restoration and the improvement of downtown Waterloo. And something that, quite frankly, a lot of people forget about. We are downtown Waterloo. You know, we've already spent $3 million on our building. And, you know, we are part of the whole renovation that's going on down here. We are a historic building, just like many of the other buildings around us. And we want to try to keep as much of that as possible while making the building usable and up to date for individuals. So, when we had raised roughly 3 million, we decided to stop the campaign, mostly because we were having so many issues with our HVAC systems and things like that. The roof was leaking horribly that we're just like, we got to stop. We just need to fix what we have, and then we'll break this into 2 phases. And down at the bottom, you can see what we've raised so far during phase 1 and phase 2. Some of you may remember that we actually received a challenge grant from the Black Hawk County Gaming Association. And so if we raised 1.5 million, they gave us 1.228 million. So that really did push us up into that $3 million mark, where we could actually go ahead and do some extremely needed repairs and updating. So these are the things that we actually did during phase 1. So, and the HVAC systems is like 2.7 million of what we spent, but worth every dollar. We had rooms that had no air conditioning. We had rooms that had no heat. It was a crapshoot every day on, you know, whether you were going to sweat to death in a room or be chilled. So that has all been improved, and the environment is so much different now. We got new safety and security systems. So this building was not sprinkled before that. So it has a sprinkler system now. We also got a $100,000 grant to do some security updates. So we got a new fire alarm. We have camera monitors now throughout the building. We have a burglar alarm, and there's something there that I'm totally blanking on. So a new roof, a lot of new plumbing, all new LED lighting and ceilings. So, and the cost of that is listed there. So now we're in phase 2, and we worked with Envision and the Samuels group to sort of figure out, where are we going to go? What can we do? What is next? And what's next is just a lot of the, let's call it the pretty parts. We've already did the guts kind of things. Now we're doing the surface sort of things. So, we're looking to renovate locker rooms, renovate kitchens, replace carpeting, fix walls, all those kinds of things. And we worked with the with American City Bureau, ACB as they call themselves, and they did a feasibility study. And we found out that the community would support us to do a $4.8 million campaign, which is what we are in right now, is the starting point of that. So I sort of just picked out a few of the things because for us, it's one thing for me to talk about, and we will have a nicer kitchen, but that's not the reason we want a nicer kitchen. So I just picked out a few things so that I could talk to you about. So if we do this, this is what happens for our programming and for the community. So, our just improving our reception area. We just want to make sure that it continues to be welcoming and inclusive so that everyone who comes in the building has a good experience. The renovating the kitchen and the adding a small smoothie coffee bar in there. Again, that's just not because, wow, that would be fun, or I could go downstairs and get a coffee. No, it is because with a renovated kitchen, we'll actually be able to do some meal prep in there. We can't do that now because it wouldn't pass inspection. So we'd be able to do cooking classes. We'd be able to do nutrition education. We'd be able to do our own food for childcare and community meals if we wanted to. We haven't hosted community meals here in a very, very long time, like even before I got here. There's also some possibilities with adding the coffee bar in that there can be some employment training. I've already had discussions with some of the leadership at the Women's Center for Change on that, there's opportunities here for women to come in and go through the training part, as well as exceptional persons. And it's not because I want everybody to be a barista out there. It's because some people need to start over and work on their employment skills that are not the hard skills. So it's that coming to work every day. It's, how you interact with people, things like that we can help them with in a somewhat safe and controlled environment, other than being out and risking their employment as they're learning and working through those experiences. It also could mean additional income for the YWCA. It would be a different source of income. Another part of this is that it would provide jobs. So we would actually be able to hire people to work in that as well. And it creates a gathering place. One of the things that came up through the feasibility study when we talked to participants was that one of the things that they really miss is there's no place at the YW to just gather. And they were used to doing that. There used to be places in the building. There was a teen center, there was tables set around. And that is something that we are wanting to bring back, not just for our own participants, but for all of our participants to see the diversity of the people that we have coming in here and getting to know each other. Renovating program space. you know, the fact that, oh, I forgot to actually say that on that other slide. Because the senior center at Kimball Avenue had to close, they are looking to drop that senior center in here at the YWCA. And so just renovating and improving our spaces allows us to have more space to actually bring in more community groups. I would like to look at some other childcare programs. I would like to look at, you know, if we had more space, I want to look at the licensing process for a second shift childcare program. I would like to look at having a small toddler preschool. These are all things that, you know, we have the ability to do. We don't have the space to do it in. The renovating of locker rooms, and particularly the adding of 2 family changing rooms. Right now, we don't have the ability to provide that privacy for like moms that have sons that are over 5. They have to send them either into a locker room by themselves, or they have to go down and use our single bathrooms to do it, to change. And so we'd like to be able to provide that. We also have a lot of elderly couples that come in, and one of them might need assistance because they're in a wheelchair, and this would provide them the ability to go in a changing room and help each other. And then the last one of many is to improve our technology in the building, and to make it building wide. And this is to actually, you know, make us up to date with learning and educational opportunities and experiences. So that we can match or do what is being done in other places and support how they're learning. I mean, our childcare program received a QRS rating a couple years ago, and there were some incentives with that. And what we bought was a whiteboard so that we could use that with the kids that are here in childcare, because that's something that they use in the school system. So it's sort of that continuation of experiences.
Sydney, if you don't mind, we have 10 minutes left.
Okay, and I only have 2 slides.
Oh, then go ahead, please.
Okay. This one, I always like to end with talking about opportunities that are at the YWCA. There's always volunteer activities in that, particularly for the governance pieces of it, conversation partners. We're always looking for presenters or activity leaders, or if you're in a business or organization where our WISE girls could come and learn about the jobs or the employment opportunities there. We're always looking for that kind of partnership. When it's Women of Persimmon time, I hope you all will think about women that you know and nominate them. Quite frankly, we are really looking for part-time employees. That is limiting us so badly right now. It's limiting us more than any of the COVID ever did. We don't have enough part-time people to actually run our programs at full capacity. Because of licensing standards or credentialing, we can't take as many kids as we used to because we don't have enough employees. So if you know anybody looking for any kind of part-time job, please send them our way. There's always the donations and event sponsorships, and we're always looking for any kind of assistance. This one says website, but anything where people might have some expertise when we need it for technology things. And with that, I just want to thank everybody for sitting through all that, and for your questions. And if anybody has a question, I'm here.
I have a few, Sydney.
Okay.
First of all, thank you for your presentation and informing us more about the YW. But where do you see, because we have very few minutes left, but where do you see your greatest need? You mentioned some of your dreams of expanding the daycare, the second shift, and those kind of things. But what is your greatest need?
I think there's 2. and they're connected. One is the building. We definitely need to get our building in a position where it's updated, it's restored, it's whatever, so that we have the ability to provide opportunities for people. And then the other piece of that is always funding.
Excellent.
Yeah. Well, come on. You know, it always feels like there's never enough money to go around, and that's not true. You ask any good fundraiser, they'll tell you that there is always enough. It's just, you have to know where and how to get it. And again, that's why some of the partnerships and the collaborations are so important too.
My next question is, you talked about and you offer some excellent programming. How do you inform the community that need it the most about the services that you provide?
You know, a lot of our programs actually are word of mouth. The people that have been in the programs talk to, friends and neighbors, family members out in the community, and we get a lot of referrals that way. We have staff that sit on just about every community task force. And so we're always sharing what we've got here, as well as finding out what's available for our participants out in the community. We have our website, and actually our website is about to be redone. The board approved some money, so we're going to update that, which will be great. And some of it's flyering things, some of it is presentations like this, so that we just talk to people about what we have here. But I will tell you, for a lot of our programs, particularly in youth and family services, it is totally that participants going out and saying, you need to come, you need to go there, because you'll get the kind of help that you need.
Excellent. Before I go on, I will open it up to our community. Any questions for Cindy or comments? Okay. Cindy, my last question deals with the pandemic. With the new strain being very, very detrimental, what are you projecting if it hits again as it did last year and we have to close down? How do you plan to operate and still meet the needs of the constituents that you serve?
That is such a great question. And it's such a frustrating question, because last time it was so hard because there just wasn't any consistent information that came out all at the same time. So it was like constantly watching and changing course on, oh, okay, well, we can do this, but we can't do this anymore. And then, oh no, now we have to shut this entirely down. So it's, we established a lot of really good protocols with social distancing and mask wearing and cleaning, things like that, to make sure everybody was safe, limiting class sizes so that people could be, the closest they ever got was 6 feet apart. So I would see us definitely having to go back to instituting a lot of those. In some cases, if it's mandated that things close, like when it was mandated when the schools closed, can't do childcare because we do it in the schools, kind of a thing. I think that this time we would probably be in a better position to perhaps offer some childcare here. We didn't last time, mostly because when we looked at it, we could take so few individuals in here, and we looked at, and I was actually a part of that child care task force. I looked at the open slots, and it didn't seem like the 15 extra kids that we could take here was going to make that big of a difference compared to the cost that it was going to be for us to try to provide that. But I also let them know that if the need grew, we would figure it out. We'd get the staff back. We lost a lot of our staff when that hit because a lot of them were college kids. And when UNI closed, they left. And so we didn't have our worker pool either. So we would institute as many of the protocols that we needed to keep people safe. We did that with our English class, etc. And then after that, it's just working along. We try to do like whatever the school is doing, etc. We actually probably had a little more stringent protocols than some of those other places ended up having, because we held on to them, because as we brought people back, the first people that we were bringing back were seniors and children, and they were like in the most vulnerable stages. So we kept a lot of our protocols in place. A lot of them are still in place with the exception of masks. So yeah, we would try to stay open and do it as long as we can. Transportation is hard. You can only, when you're 6 feet apart, we could only get 4 or 5 people on the bus as opposed to 13. So that meant several trips out to get people. Also, you know, we totally experienced that a lot of our participants didn't want to come into class anymore. They didn't want to do it. And a lot of them were not in a place to do it online. A lot of our English class folks do not have access to do Zoom. Our parents in our parenting classes did not like that Zoom platform, even though we offered it. So we learned some things during the last one that I think we can build on.
Excellent. Well, our time has come to an end. I would like to say thank you to our audience and thank you for Cindy Mohr for your presentation. Your organization has always served as a lifeline to the greatest need in our community. And whatever we can do to help continue that, we will more than willing to make that happen. Before we go, I would like to say September 2nd is our next Windows on Waterloo, and Jane Lindeman from the Waterloo Schools will be here. And so we'll give you updates on other guest speakers as we move forward. But once again, thank you, Sydney, and thank you all for logging on. And I hope that you all have a great day. Take care.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.